And yo, the Sports Bag Bros podcast is coming back at you. This is a Thursday. The week goes by so damn fast when you're talking about sports. We were just in Saturday this past weekend, then we had our Monday show, and I was thinking between Monday and Thursday, maybe something will happen that'll give us something to talk about this time, and we see something has happened. We're talking still the NBA Finals. There's a lot more going on. You know, the NFL is percolating a little bit because of next month, but right now, in terms of aesthetics, in terms of excitement, the NBA Finals is front and center. Ratings be damn. What's good?
What's good? I don't know what the ratings are, but if you are a basketball fan and you're not watching, you're missing some good action. That was a good ass game last night. Both teams are competing. They're playing hard. And Mathurin, I mentioned like seven, eight dudes the other day. He's the only guy I didn't mention, and he comes off the bench and dropped 20 something. That dude was a killer yesterday. So I guess he matched Wiggins' effort for the Thunder from game 2. But I don't know how you can be a fan of basketball and not be interested in this series. Both these teams play fast pace. They score points. They even try to play really good defense. They put in effort on the defensive end.
Real effort, serious effort.
Yeah. And these games have been competitive.
Yeah, all these people whining about yesteryear and how defense was played and how the players then were just more gritty. Right now, we're seeing gritty play. We're seeing high-level play. We're seeing fast play. Everything that's not supposed to happen because this is the age of the three-point shot and the athletes who don't want to be physical, certainly don't want to play defense, but you're getting it all right now. And like you said, if you're an NBA fan or even a basketball fan, you know, outside of the market or otherwise, you've watched basketball all season and you wait until now not to watch basketball for whatever reason. Even if your team is not in the NBA Finals, if you're a basketball person, you're a basketball person. If you love basketball, you just watch the finals because this is the pinnacle of all basketball, at least the way we know it. And according to the ratings, allegedly, this is not going on. And, you know, it seems like they have to keep making excuses for the numbers. Man, don't make damn excuses. If those people miss the games, that's their problem. The ones who are watching it, they're getting the treat this season, this whole playoffs.
Yeah. It's too bad if you, like I said, if you're not watching, you're not a real basketball fan.
You can't be.
I don't know how you can follow the NBA. And OKC is the number 1 seed. They made it to the finals, and you should know, come playoff time, the Pacers, they raised their game up a level, and this year, you know, they improved upon last year. They kind of surprised some people last year. And this year, now they're up 2-1 in the finals. So, again, if you're a basketball fan, you should already know this. You should already know Halliburton's on the come up. SGA's the MVP, but he's not alone. He's got Jalen Williams who can drop 25, 30 on a given night. Chet Holmgren who can drop 20 on a given night. They have several players who can drop 20, 25 on you. And that's with SGA possibly going for 35 or 40. And then you look over at the Pacers side, Siakam's been balling.
Yeah.
You know, he may not be a superstar, but he has finals and championship experience. And he's been balling on both ends of the court. So these teams are very talented. I don't know how you can't expect to see good quality basketball with these two teams.
And when you look at Oklahoma City and see how young they are, and you see this is the future of the NBA, whether these players stay with Oklahoma City or whether they break apart like a lot of teams do, the talent individually, this is a young team and young players that we're probably going to look at looking towards the future. You look at Indiana, not exactly as young, but then the young player that is leading the way is Tyrese Halliburton, and he's going to be a household name. You know, you see the fans out there yesterday with the shirts that talked about him being overrated, and of course, they're shooting kind of a little bit at Stephen A. Smith because he claimed that he was overrated. You mentioned that throughout the playoffs and during the playoffs. And he's showing up
No, to be fair, Stephen A. didn't call him overrated. He just said he wasn't a superstar.
Well, he wasn't a superstar. I guess
the NBA players voted him most overrated.
Yeah, and the players, exactly. Those players that he had helped eliminate and get to this point as they're watching him now continue to be overrated in their opinion. This game just happened to be the game because I talked about how in the regular season they were shooting 3% or 36% from 3-point range. And then they were 40 points or even 40% or even more throughout the playoffs. This game here that was more defense and also still offense, even though it went on the under 223.5 just by a half a freaking point. How should I know? I took the freaking live when it went down and I lost by half a point. But in any event, this team, they're doing all of this and they're getting it all done at home. And last night, 33%, their lowest of the entire playoffs, and they still pulled it off.
Yeah, so they may not have been draining threes, but they got some timely threes.
Yeah, you know what? That's the exact way to put it.
And especially down the stretch in the fourth quarter, the one by Naismith, I can't believe the one by Halliburton, and I think running 4 or 5 different guys at SGA, you saw the effect it had on him.
Yeah,
at the end of the game, he's hunched over, holding his shorts. That's the first sign of fatigue. And then he challenges Halliburton shot in the corner, and he just stands there, and Halliburton goes and gets his own rebound.
Bro, he's a hustler, man.
That's just fatigue, because everybody knows you box out the shooter. You don't just turn and watch and let him go run and get his own miss. So I think Carlisle Kemhart fouled out one of them. So he's playing defense. And then I think Siakam had 5. They're
a lot of early fouls.
The
second quarter, dudes had 3. A number of them.
They're playing defense. I can't remember who said it, but somebody said if he finished the game with only 1 or 2 fouls, he considered himself not playing hard enough. He needs more than 2 fouls. Like, he wasn't putting in the effort. He wasn't moving the puppies, as Big Perk would say. Those guys they're picking up full court. They're harassing them from baseline to baseline. And like I said, Thunder's going to have to come up with an adjustment to avoid SGA getting tired at the end of the game, because that's what they did to the Knicks.
It looks like Indiana's coming up with the adjustments. They adjusted on the road and stole that first game. They did lose the second game, but they come back home and they made the adjustments for whatever happened in the second game. They look even better. They were down like they were before. And, Chet Holmgren still tried to do what he did the first time by initiating the scoring, and he did. But this time, Indiana had the defense and they had matched their tenacity. I don't think they were expected, because we keep hearing about how OKC is the number 1 defense in the league, which it is. And then you talk about Indiana, they just made stride from what they were last year. But how much is that saying? But then we're seeing they're in the top 10 when it comes to defense, and they showed it. This is a lot of basketball being played. These guys are way past the regular season. So there's a whole lot of basketball, and no real surprise that SGA was as fatigued as he was towards the end of the game, because this is so much. I think that people kind of forget, because it is the finals and in the playoffs, that you forget that there's been so much basketball play that if you overexert yourself, you're going to have some real issues, especially this late in the year.
Yeah, that's true. And the turnaround from game 3 to game 4 is just 1 day off this time.
Yeah.
So we'll see if the Thunder are able to bounce back. Like I said, I fully expect them to come up with a different game plan. There's no way you can allow SGA to get harassed 94 feet every possession. So they might get the ball out of his hands, have someone else bring it up, and then he goes and gets the ball at half court, whatever. But, you just can't have him getting harassed by 4 or 5 games every minute of the game he's on the court.
They allowed the team to play yesterday. Both teams were allowed to play because there were some fouls that could have been called. I know some people were whining on the broadcast about fouls that weren't called or things that might not have been fouls, but there was some physical contact out there. They allowed to go quite a bit yesterday. Obi Toppin, another one of those players, unsung hero players that start to put the numbers together in the postseason, and those alley-oops that he starts really electrifies the team. It gives them a jump start. The crowd gets involved. This guy, I've kept saying his skills have to rise to the level of his overall ability and athleticism, because his athleticism has been off the charts since he was with the Knicks. And I was hoping that they would find a role. I know they see him every day in practice, off season. They know exactly what he brings to the table. And going by his body makeup and knowing on those intermittent times that he does jump through the roof and make these phenomenal plays, that consistency isn't there, but it's been pretty consistent throughout the playoffs. Maybe this is also the beginning of him kind of taking a transition from the playoffs and going to have a career that's not like James Harden, who's all of a sudden is going to be a player that can go on his own, but he's going to be a hell of a cog, I think, even long-term for Indiana. He's still young.
Yeah, on the night where there were many of highlights, I think Obi Toppin had the best highlight. His tip dunk.
Bro,
that tip dunk got me out of the seat. I saw him coming. I was like, oh, snap. He threw it down hard. He hung on the rim a little bit. I was like, because nowadays, a lot of times people, they don't even really dunk. They just kind of drop it in. Yeah. He threw it down. I was like, there you go, Obi. Throw that shit down.
Man, that guy comes with power.
He's a very talented player. He's very athletic.
Oh, his athleticism.
You know, I talked about Clint Richardson and Pat Riley the other day.
Yeah.
The Thunder had to come up with a plan to stop Mathurin.
It's a wrap.
Pacers in 5. PGA, MCA, SGA, Pacers in 5. But I doubt that. I'm just saying, Mathurin, I don't know if we can expect him to have another 20-point plus game.
You know what? I guess they just take turns getting that game that's not supposed to happen, and they just squeak out these wins because of it. You know, whether you're winning by 20 points or winning by 1 point, that's all you have to do at the end of the game is be the winner of that game. Right now, Indiana's done it twice with 3 games played going into a 4th game on Friday. Man, imagine a 3-1 hole after Friday. Now, OKC can find some solace in going back home and knowing that they can get it done. There'll be a lot of pressure on them. And then you look at Indiana, not to have a lapse, but getting a little bit too comfortable, a little bit like they did against the Knicks.
It's possible, but you know what's funny? On the morning shows, they're all saying if OKC doesn't win Friday night, they're in trouble. Well, no shit. They'd be down 3-1. Like Captain Obvious. What else? What else you got to say? Like I don't know. It just made me laugh. Like, okay, why am I watching these guys? Because they're not giving me any insight. So I ended up changing the channel. But obviously, it's a must-win game. I don't care if they're going home. OKC has to win Friday night, or this series is a wrap.
Now, what we were talking about just a minute ago of these unsung heroes all of a sudden becoming some kind of a hero or configuring themselves in the game and being somewhat of the difference why the win is happening when you weren't expecting them to make it happen. Well, you know, Miles Turner under the weather at the end of the game. You hear about it in the press conference. He was under the weather, so that probably explains why he didn't play the way you probably would expect with his contributions. You talked about it before
he
it started.
Played better defensively than he normally does, though. His shot was off, but he came up big on defense.
Well, if that's considered under the weather, now that he may be a little bit more up to speed on Friday, maybe, or definitely when they go back to OKC, who's going to be that next person who steps up? Because, yeah, Obi Toppin is stepping up. He's being consistent, but I think there's still room for him to hit that 20-point game. He needs to hit that 20-point game, but there are so many other players who can do a lot of the same thing. And I believe, just like I've said so many times, that on any NBA bench, there's always one player that you don't expect that can have a 20 and 30-point game. I looked at Dante DiVincenzo when he was playing with the Knicks, being that kind of a player. You're not necessarily expecting him to do it, but I think on any NBA bench in the entire league on that given night, those guys are that talented to where that one night, and maybe even one night only their entire career, could hit that 25, 30-point game when it's needed.
Yeah, that's true. Man, I lost my train of thought. What were you talking about? Oh, players off the bench.
No, I was just talking. Well, going back to Obi Toppin and the other players that probably who's going to be the next one to step up. Now,
so watching that game last night, I was thinking it was started off like a repeat of game 1 and a repeat of game 2, mm-hmm. And I was like, Pacers, you need to step it up. You can't play from behind the entire game. That's what happened in game 2. They just could not catch up.
Yeah.
Then the bench came in, Matherin
The
and
bench took over
McConnell
yesterday.
and Toppin. Man, they were balling. They came in like gangbusters. That still McConnell had on the baseline and put back.
Yeah,
That came out of nowhere, but that was a hell of a play. I don't consider McConnell all that good, but he
picks his
plays
spot.
hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he gets in the paint, which kind of breaks down the defense and gets shots for other guys, even if he can't finish at the rim.
And
So
on
Indiana has to continue to get big contributions from their bench.
Well, yeah, and it goes back once again to we were talking about the depth of both teams, and it seems like OKC on paper has the depth. They have everything pretty much from top to bottom, but I don't think that Indiana is that far off. Indiana got credit for their depth last series only because the Knicks don't have too much depth at all. So compared to the Knicks, they have a lot of depth. Now they're playing against a team with real depth, and they look like on paper that they probably don't match up when that bench comes in. Yesterday, that bench came in and they took over. The bench is the reason why they win the game.
Yeah, pretty much. I remember what I was thinking. I want to see if Scott comes in because I got to talk about his boy Jalen Williams. He had a decent game, but at the end of the game, he started missing free throws.
Oh, God, that cost me that 23 and a half.
You
One
can
and a half
call
point.
it.
Come
You can
on.
call it the announcer's jinx or whatever, but he went to the line. They said he's 6 for 8, I believe, and then clank, he missed that one.
Clank.
Second one cried in, and then he got fouled later. He missed another one. That all contributed to OKC going down, and obviously to you losing your bet.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. I was like, are you freaking serious? Because, you have the live bets because I like rock with the live bets. And I still take that first quarter, even though this first quarter was better than their previous first quarters. I think this first quarter, they had 56. I quoted at 58 and a half, so I went under. They've been under with their first quarters almost the entire series, the entire playoffs. And for a team that's so potent offensively, I don't know how they start off so slow, or it looks like it, because the last game you saw Chet Holmgren play the way he did, and he initiated the scoring, and it was still just 46 points scored between the two teams in the first quarter. Not a lot of the same this time, less than the over that they had available, which was 58 and a half. They scored 56. But man, this Indiana team, as long as they're within 7 points, 8 points, man, you got to start worrying about it. If you've been up all along, and then all of a sudden they hit that three and someone gets excited either on their bench or if they're at home in their stands and on the bench, you could almost just write it off because they're going to have that run that you just can't do anything about. And that momentum, it seems like it can't be stopped. They've proven that time and time again.
Yeah, I think that's their strategy. Just keep it within striking distance. They couldn't do it in game 2. And every time they made a run, OKC came right back and shut it down. But they took the lead last night, and eventually they were able to extend the lead. OKC was hanging with them for a while, but I think those last 3 minutes,
those free throws.
Pacers, free throws, but Pacers were the fresher team. And, Tyler Lace could have something to do with missing free throws too, although it shouldn't. In my opinion, I don't care if you're dog tired, you should still hit a free throw if you're a good free throw shooter. And Jalen Williams is a good free throw shooter, so he had no business missing that many threes down the stretch yesterday.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting. Well, Indiana, you kind of get to the point now, this series in particular, of expecting them to be able to come from behind. Now, we were just talking just a second ago saying, OKC had to worry about Indiana when Indiana was already in front. When Oklahoma City is supposed to be the ones, and they were in the front in the very beginning. And the more they pushed the issue, what were they able to do, or what can they do differently in the next game to really free up SGA, because they were on him like a dog? They just got to do a lot of the repeating of what they did this game. How do you counter what has been going on?
Well, like I said, get him off the ball as far as bringing it up, but that's a way for him to conserve energy. He's not having to fight to bring the ball up every possession, but he's still gonna get his shots. He's still gonna run pick and roll with Hartenstein and those guys. He's still gonna get in the lane and shoot his turnaround or his floater or get finished with the left hand. It's just a matter of how much he's able to accomplish. Does he go for 35, or do they kind of? I'm not gonna say hold him in check, but keep it reasonable. What did he have last night? Like 25? Like
Who?
if they can keep him 25
Yeah,
and
yeah, they
below,
kept a
that's a
quiet 25, I guess, when
that's
the
a
game is the
good
way it
job.
did.
That's a really good job.
Man, I don't know, man, because he in the beginning he looked smooth and he was hitting his shots and things looked like they were gonna just be the same old, same old. Okay, they're back on track. They're gonna do what they were expected to do. And Indiana kind of matches them, falls behind, matches them, fall behind. All of those fouls because of the defense they were playing. I guess they put a lot of money into the bank. Like we talk boxing here, you go into the body. They went to the body early in that first and second quarter. By the time the third and fourth came around, we saw them dragging. And I think being on at home with Indiana, that crowd and the enthusiasm and the adrenaline pushing them over the top. And man, based on talent, looking at the both rosters, it's not even supposed to be that close. But yeah, they still come from behind, still do the same things. This is becoming status quo with them now.
I think it's imperative for the Pacers to get. They may not be able to replicate the same amount of production from the bench that they got last night, but they still have to get major contributions. I mean, we both agree the bench won that game for the
Yeah,
Pacers
they did. No
last night.
question.
I believe they outscored the Thunder bench like 49 to 13.
They pretty much shut them down.
What Caruso did in game 2, he didn't come close to doing last night. And when the home team's others are performing at that level, it's hard for the road team to come out on top. So I think the Pacers, they have to get the same contribution. They have from the bench. They have to give the same effort on both ends of the court, harass SGA as much as they can, and hope to be there at the end. Because if it goes back to OKC 2-2, as much as we say if the Pacers win tomorrow night, it's probably a wrap. It might be a wrap for the Pacers if they lose tomorrow.
That quick, exactly, because OKC does have that kind of team. You know, going back to the beginning of the game, and even though it wasn't like all the other playoff games that the Pacers have played in, or OKC for that matter, because they're the ones who don't score a lot or prevent their opponent from scoring a lot in that first quarter. That's why I take the under all the time. But yeah, 58 points between the two teams, 56 points between those two teams in the first quarter. How about in the second quarter when Indiana scored 40 points against the best defense in the freaking league? And just in the second quarter, 68 points between them.
That was the bench.
Yeah, I'm saying that was the bench. They used them early, used them often, went to the body, man, and it was there for the taking at the end. And they were able to pull away. And when that final score was read, you didn't hear about how far behind Indiana was in order to get to that point. You just knew they won. And now we're looking forward to Friday and seeing what kind of who has what? Who has the cojones? You know, Chet Holmgren did start off well, but he didn't finish exactly as dominant as he had started. But there were a lot of blocks in that game. How the hell does Chet Holmgren get blocked a couple of times? Like he's 7-1.
He doesn't have much vert. I don't know.
Bro, dudes is blocking this dude like they were playing volleyball with him.
The Pacers were physical. If you remember, man, I think Chet went down and he stayed down for maybe a minute. And I think Richard Jefferson talked about he's I don't remember exactly what he said, but he was referring to the Thunder being tired, and every time somebody stayed down, they stayed down a little bit longer.
Yeah. That Caruso hit.
He's trying to catch a breath. Yeah, so I'm excited for tomorrow night's game.
Oh yeah, anybody who's a basketball fan should. That's why I'm still baffled about the ratings and how much they're talking about the ratings going down. What is it people want to see? I know it's not that old adage from years ago. They just want the large market teams. So if you're from LA, Boston, New York, maybe Philly, Chicago, that's the only time that the game can do well, you know, because it's a completely different landscape, especially marketing wise. You don't have to be in a major city now to get those dollars. But as far as people at home, what are you doing? You called yourself a basketball fan all season. You watched this pretty bad basketball season. Things didn't heat up until the playoffs. And now you decide, you know what? My team is not in the finals, which they probably were out of the finals by February anyway, but I'm not going to watch. So now they're not watching. And it just blows my mind. And then these just happen to be the better games that I've seen in quite some time, especially all the hype they got going in. the new names, the young players, the new teams. We're going to have the champ for the first time that isn't one of these big time cities or whatever, well, with the exception of Milwaukee. But yeah, they're doing everything that they need to do. If you had someone who was kind of on the fence about basketball, this is the series you probably put them over the edge with.
There's a lot of basketball to be played, but it remains to be seen who's going to make their impact felt the most in this series. And let's say if the Thunder do come back, it's probably going to be behind SGA's effort.
Mm-hmm.
And he's the MVP. If he's the MVP of the finals, you know how kids are. You're going to see more SGA jerseys.
Yep. Even outside the market.
He gets a new shoe deal. Kids will be wearing his shoes, and he'll be on his way to stardom. And possibly the same if the Pacers do it and Halliburton's the MVP.
Now, Siakam ends up being the MVP. What happens with the other guy? They're going to give him a new shoe. They're going to make him a star. You're going to have kids walk around with Pascal Siakam jerseys on. Now, Chet Holmgren, being the unicorn they say he is, he goes out and plays. He tries to be aggressive. He is aggressive. But then as far as the unicorn goes, I'm looking at him as I'm not going to even say poor man's Kristaps Porzingis. He just short. Oh, I caught that son of a bitch. I got him. He was bothering the hell out of me. But, he's missing those 3-pointers that were wide open. I typically expect him to make those.
It just wasn't his night. I don't know what to say.
I thought because he got himself in the groove, he was the one who initiated the scoring. He picked up where he left off last game because he was the reason why they started off strong and ended strong and won the game pretty comfortably. I thought doing a lot of the game.
It could be because the feeling of not being as comfortable as he was playing at home. If you're not comfortable, maybe you don't shoot with the same release, the same form. Something's just not right. And I think a lot of the Thunder players were uncomfortable yesterday. He may have looked open, but they were being physical with him.
Oh, and yeah. And maybe he's still thin.
He's frustrated. Maybe he's a little more tired than he usually is. And his shots weren't falling.
Yeah, he's still a little on the thin side. I think that's going to be the case for another 2 or 3 years because I do remember, just like Kristaps Porzingis when he came into the league, a unicorn, but the guy was so thin and he didn't start filling out until like 3 years later, 4 years later to what we have now. And just because of natural growth. But Chet still has a lot of talent, but getting blocked at 7'1" by dudes who were 6'6" or 6'8", and it wasn't. I don't know, and he could handle the ball well. I talked about how he worked with Jalen Suggs' father because they were friends, and whatnot. So he knew how to handle the ball, for a big man. I'm not expecting him to be Magic Johnson or anybody else, or even Tyrese Halliburton for that matter with his handle. But he's better than average for someone his height, and even his tall, lanky stature makes you think he's clumsy. But he handles it fairly well. But they were just stealing, and there was a lot of steals going on yesterday too. I mean, back and forth.
Yeah, most of the steals were on passes, though. Pacers were in the passing lane. And Chet, for a big man, he has really good handles. You don't see him get ripped when he's dribbling the ball or going to the basket. Like, guys don't just reach in and take the ball away from him. He has really good handles.
Yeah, and even though he has that 2 or 3 inch vertical, man, when you're that tall, who cares?
Miles Turner's 6'10", so, it's not out of the realm of possibilities that he can block his shot.
When he trailed yesterday on that slam dunk, man, that kind of got you a little bit of hype, even though it was a road game for him. But him flying through it had a good rhythm going. He smashed it. And then I was going to mention Halliburton when he had his chance to make that dunk when he got the steal by himself. He gives you just the regular YMCA dunk. I mean, like no one's watching, just old people just slam the dunk, nothing special. I mean, it's all good, but
they got conserving energy. He's conserving energy.
You know what? The way they were playing yesterday. That probably is the case, trying to conserve the energy because they played from beginning to end. They went in with that mindset of making defense matter, and then they came in waves, the same waves we were talking about with OKC during the entire series, not this series, but in the entire playoffs. OKC comes in waves. They came in waves when it came to defense.
They did. They flipped the script on the Thunder yesterday. They were more physical. They played a little bit better defense. They were getting turnovers that Thunder don't usually give up. And again, Thunder are going to have to make adjustments for tomorrow night. But I want to get into a couple other things while we're on basketball. Did you hear Kevin Durant clap back at somebody on Twitter who went in on him?
He's always clapping back. Why should you be a superstar player doing this with fans?
He did it again. That's my point.
This guy.
Somebody said you left Golden State and you couldn't get it done in Brooklyn. You can't get it done in Phoenix. Now you're going to go to the next place, basically questioning his legacy. And KD was like 10 All-Stars or however many All-Stars, and I got this and I got that and I got this. I don't know why KD, comes down with the common folk and engages with them. But I think the question is legit. If he doesn't go to Golden State, does he have any championships?
Nope, but it's not because he's not a good
it's hard
player
to argue
or
that
great
he
player.
does because he couldn't get it done in OKC.
But they blew that up, though.
Well, he blew it up because he left. Well, no, they traded James Harden first.
Yeah, exactly. If he'd have stayed, I think that team eventually, because
but
they
they're
were
not
also
going to
young
win
at the
with
time
James
too.
Harden anyway. Look at Harden's history. When they did get to the finals, he was non-existent in that finals.
Yeah,
he was sixth man of the year. He was sixth man of the year, and he played like absolute trash. And ever since then, don't put him in the Game 7. You know he ain't showing up in Game 7. So that OKC team couldn't get it done. And as mentioned, couldn't get it done in Brooklyn. And now in Phoenix, everyone's excited. Oh, he's going to team up with Booker. And then they trade for Beal. That's possibly the best three shooters in the league.
Yeah.
I mean, not as a threesome. And they're trash. They didn't even make the playoffs. Other 2 years they get bounced in the first round.
But was it because of him?
I think. Well, I'm not going to say it's KD's
not
fault,
because of him. Devin Booker, man, we talked about how he scores and they still lose. He scores 70 plus, they still lose with or without Kevin Durant. He's the problem. Damn it, he picked the wrong team. But Devin Booker may be the damn problem. They can't win with him.
But Booker got to the finals without KD though,
and he had a better team around him too when they were doing it.
I'm just saying. I think the question is valid. I really think now KD may fully be secure with his accomplishments and feel fine with what he's accomplished, but I think you can't. He does not have the right to question anybody who questions him for not winning the chip without Golden State.
Man, but you know what? If he didn't win it with Golden State, he could have gone to another bigger team and done the same thing. Probably could have gone to Boston. Probably could have gone to Miami and done the same thing. I mean, we will never know. He could have gone to Milwaukee for that matter.
He was in Brooklyn with Kyrie. He was in Brooklyn with Kyrie and Harden.
We also know those guys played like 22 games together the entire season. I mean, it's not anyone's fault other than them not being able to stay healthy. And then you had the COVID deal going on. Who can play? Who can't play?
Okay, what's a better tandem? KD and Booker, or Steph and Draymond?
Steph and Draymond? KD and Booker is a better tandem.
Then why don't they win?
Because those are just two players, and then the depth is crap. He can't yet. He need the whole team.
I'm just saying he has help. He has help. He's had help. KD does not. He didn't sign with Utah and play with bums. He goes with somewhere where they already have talent.
Went with the stars.
Exactly. He's going to make a super team, and his super team can't get in the playoffs. Wasn't his idea. Okay, whatever. You can say it wasn't his idea, but did they put him in handcuffs and force him to go to Golden State? Get out of here with that shit.
He picked and chose, just like LeBron picked and chose.
He was a free agent
to Miami instead of going to New York.
He went to meet with them. He liked what they had to say, and he signed with them. He did that by his own choosing. Yeah,
but there wasn't much to say when you're teaming up with, and your likelihood of winning a championship is pretty damn high playing with those players. But I mean, look, he has the rings, so we can't look back and say, you know what, this guy doesn't have the rings. He does have the rings, and we can only speculate that he probably wouldn't have had those rings now that he's older and injured.
But again, it makes it worse that the Warriors won before and after him. and he
And that's
hasn't
true.
won
It's like they didn't
before
even need
them
him.
or after them.
Yeah, it's like they didn't
So
even need him. But he
I'm,
does have that ring,
I'm
and
not throwing shade. I'm just spitting facts.
but
It's
he's a
true.
great
He
player.
hasn't. He never won before them, and he hasn't won after them.
He's still a great player. Come on, we could go down a list
Without
of
a
all the
doubt.
players who have
Without a
won
doubt.
championships.
I
Huh?
mean, but if he had 4 or 5 championships, people would be talking about him in top 5 possibly.
Well, as a talent,
So,
I'm saying as a
yeah, but
talent.
I'm saying top 5 all time. Without the chips, nobody talks about KD, probably even the top 10.
Man, I look at him the way I look at to a
I mean,
degree.
that's why I got into it with my coworkers. When the one said SGA, if OKC wins the chip, he's better than KD, and I'm like, no, he's not better than
Nah,
KD.
come on, man.
But then she elaborated, and I'm like, okay,
KD at
he's a
OKC.
greater Thunder. I'll give you that. He's a greater Thunder, but not player all time. Ain't no way.
So guess who showed up?
Hey Scott, how'd you guys Jalen Williams do at the free throw line the other night?
I'm gonna put the link inside the chat for those who want to step up and come in.
There
have
goes,
a conversation.
There goes his MVP.
Scott in particular.
There goes his MVP, Scott.
Yeah, man. I don't know. I was watching some of the old videos Scott and I had done years ago, and he's still talking nonsense about Jaylen Brown leaving Boston. He's had something for Jaylen Brown forever. I don't know what it is. It's like disrespecting him. This guy gets the MVP. All of that stuff that he had gotten and got championships, MVP of the championship series, and he still has this animus against Jaylen Brown. I'm watching these shows like constantly, like about 3 or 4 episodes out of the entire series we had done. He's complaining about Jaylen Brown one way or another. How is he's trying to throw him out?
When you were on hiatus, he was complaining about Jaylen Brown.
I don't know what this deal is with Jaylen Brown, for real. But yeah,
maybe they can trade him for Giannis.
There's some players like that. There's some players who love players even though things won't work out properly, and there's players who just hate a player and want him out of town. Hell, when I was, Jake Plummer used to be my guy, and I used to wish that he played better than he played, but he never got there. Jake freaking Plummer years ago.
You know who I think Boston should have traded for?
Who?
Jimmy Butler. I think he would fit in perfectly with the Celtics. I don't know who they would have had to given up, but Jimmy Butler with Tatum and Holiday and White and those guys, man, I think Jimmy would fit in perfectly, but he's in Golden State.
Now, attitude-wise, I mean, we don't know him attitude-wise. We just know that he's jumped around from team to team, and after he's left, there's always been some issue, someone saying something out the door about his attitude. I don't know if it's about a selfish attitude. I doubt that's the case. Maybe he doesn't put up with people's crap. Sometimes they get upset with that. He's more serious than you are. Look at these guys. They all have different backgrounds and upbringings, and some of them are serious all the damn time, even though they're making a whole bunch of damn money. But
my response to that is there's only one college football player who was the MVP of 3 national title games. Tommy Frazier played for Nebraska.
Yeah, Tommy was a bad boy, man.
And not only that, he was not well liked by his teammates. They didn't vote him as captain. And you would think this kid started as a freshman. You would think by the time he's a senior, he would be captain. They did not like him.
After the way he got out of Florida,
they did not like him. But I bet you everyone respected him because he demanded excellence. He demanded effort. You were not gonna go through the motions on Tommy's watch.
So how do you look at him as a leader?
That could apply to Jimmy Butler, like Kobe.
Oh yeah, Kobe.
God rest his soul, but he had games where I ain't passing to them. He comes.
They didn't put in any work.
And he leaves early. Fuck that dude. I ain't passing.
So I'm gonna give it to them. They didn't work.
So I'm sure people had things to say about Kobe. I'm sure not everybody liked him. Oh, he don't pass the ball. Well, maybe you don't work and earn his respect.
Well, that's true. And we found out behind the scenes that was a lot of players, Shaq in particular, but there were players who didn't live up to his expectation. And he felt like, why the hell should I go out there practicing 10 hours a day? And these dudes were at the beach down in Cancun or wherever the hell they were. And now they come in here and think they can just be part of a championship. I ain't giving it to those bums. And hell, he was able to win these games too, being that individual player that he was for the most part. But yeah, Jimmy Butler, man, that would have been interesting on the Boston Celtics. But when they talk about these attitudes, I think I still go back to what kind of attitude is it? Is it a selfish attitude? Is it just an honorary attitude or what? but he's been from team to team to team to team, and things started getting a little bitter down in Miami before he was now with Golden State. I mean, it's like when he's quiet, but then when he doesn't want to be somewhere, you start hearing it.
I think in Miami, it was a money issue.
Really,
he wanted to get paid, and they didn't want to pay him.
Well, what did he get paid in Golden State? I don't know what his contract was. I hadn't even kept up with that.
I don't know, but I'm just saying he's probably coming from the standpoint, man, I took this bum ass team to the finals, and you guys don't want to pay me.
And that is the truth. Like, I remember that bubble year. That dude earned his dog stripes during that bubble year when he just played his ass off, man. He left everything on the floor in the bubble, and they weren't any closer to getting a championship than they were if he didn't do it. So, but anyways, NBA still busting up,
I got
looking
a question,
damn good.
Too.
Yeah.
How in the hell does Angel Reese win Sports Woman of the Year?
Man, we know how they force feed this nonsense to
I'm
people.
Just saying,
they shove it down your throat. Isn't it BET anyways?
What didn't Asia Wilson win the MVP? If you can go with a basketball
we
player,
know better.
Ain't there a golfer or tennis player somewhere BET could recognize? Simone Biles, didn't she win gold medal? Come on, man. Angel Reese, what, she got the best TikTok videos?
That's it. You know, and we know that it's not even about accomplishment anymore. It's sometimes trying to stuff it to the people. If you're talking about a BET award, we already know how tribal that is anyways. So I don't know, man. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what she's doing because they're more about aesthetics. And I guess for the people who like that kind of style, they're all about the aesthetics of how she walks into a game and how she's getting more attention than she deserves. Her game doesn't speak for much of anything. They're all about that non-substantive stuff than they are about things getting done, apparently, if they decide to go with her. I mean, and everyone's made a mockery out of it. It's almost like they want to spit in someone's face because we know she's getting this, she's getting that, even though it's created by her. She's getting this type of flack. She's getting that type of flack from not just the media, from people who don't like that kind of a thing. I know there's a bunch of people who love chaos and love that kind of thing, and they follow her and they laud her as if she really is doing something. This pacifies them. And, you know, and you go to any chat room or anything else, and you see what they talk about in those chat rooms when it comes to her or any other player, but Caitlin in particular. And you know what the arguments are coming from. It has rarely much to do with basketball, a whole bunch of other nonsense that we can do without, and the reasons why you go to sports for the diversion from that nonsense. But here it comes.
No, and I said a lot last year. Like, I try to like Angel, but I can't. Like, I see highlights of her. Okay, she had 14 rebounds and 6 points or whatever the point, or however many points. But you see the highlights of the game, and she's getting her shot blocked. She's shooting the air ball layup. She's in the side of the backboard. She's overshooting the rim. I'm like, man, that's absolute trash. If that
clown basketball.
If that was, I mean, Tristan Thompson wasn't that bad in the paint, and he was bad. I mean, she's like, I can't even say she's Draymond. She's like Tristan Thompson, like a lesser version of Tristan Thompson.
Yeah, and when the last time you saw her do a finger roll? She hasn't even done a finger roll. She just throws it up. She just throws it up.
She just throws it up. I hope it goes in.
The way Wilt Chamberlain was at the free throw line, it's kind of how she throws the ball up sometime when she's close to the rim. She just throws it up there. No direction, just a bunch of hope. She throws up a lottery ticket, and sometimes it goes in, most times it doesn't. But guess who's there for the rebound? It's her, or the me-bound, as people have been calling it lately. But yeah, it's unbelievable how they come up with nonsense like that. But we know what it's about. I mean, it's a
to me, that's almost as ridiculous as Bruce Jenner winning Woman of the Year.
Bruce Jenner, exactly. Don't even come with the Caitlyn nonsense. Bruce Jenner winning Woman of the Year. Exactly. It's more virtue signaling than it is accomplishment. And that's exactly what this still is right now. You know, basketball with the playoffs going on the way they are and now the finals. Have you heard about the story with Doug Christie and Chris Webber?
No, what happened?
I know years ago, do you remember how Doug Christie, his wife used to come with him to road games and everybody used to tease him about it? It was a big deal. His kid is Chris Webber's kid.
Oh, man.
Bro, come on now. They said they had a DNA test and it's Chris Webber's kid.
That's messed
up. What the hell
she's
following him for? Did his games.
Wow.
She's like not trusting him. Or they're talking about how great a husband he is because he has his wife come with him to the games to make sure he's doing the right thing. Guess who's not doing the right thing? Come
That's
on,
crazy.
Curry and his wife with Steph Curry's family, the way we thought everything was perfect with them, and they're going back and forth in the separate ways. Crazy.
I remember there was an HBO. I think it might have been the Brian Gumbel show. I can't remember the name of the show right now, but they did a piece on Christy and his wife, and I didn't see it. But my homie, he's like, man, I watched that shit. It was weird. Like he said, the relationship between those two, he got a weird vibe from it.
Well,
and now you're saying that
right. He's right.
Weber was banging her. I can see why it was weird.
And he looking all crazy in the face now. Like, yo, bro. Well, what are you gonna say? It's not you. What, DNA's lying now? Unbelievable how that became an issue, because I remember when that story just came out a couple of days ago, the first thing I thought about, she came with him to all these games, and I remember he was getting flack from the players and all that other crap. Because you don't remember AC Green was the virgin and all that stuff when he was with the Lakers. You know, they didn't make fun of him. They just looked at it as an outlier because of the way star players, basketball, sports, period, the way they live their lives. But this guy bringing his wife everywhere because I want her to know that I'm faithful, and she wants to know everything that I'm up to, and we're going to act like we're some happy family. And now Chris Webber's part of your family. What's going on?
I just wondered, like, where did he go that Webber got to smash? Like,
I don't know.
Why wasn't he around?
Probably Doug. Go on the corner and get me some.
Probably told Adelman to keep him after practice for a couple hours or something.
Something, man. Someone's in cahoots, man. This might be a conspiracy. But how that ended up being the case, I don't know how it ended up. But, that's the first thing you think about. How close can they be? They're like magnets, man. You can't get rid of one. You can't see one without the other. They're like the Klitschko's. You can't see one without the other. They look like twins. And now my man, part of the family, inadvertently, well, I don't know, probably intentionally. But I mean, she's the one who looks bad, and Chris Webber looked even worse for supposedly being his boy and pulling that off.
Yeah, I don't even know what to say about that.
This is the crap we on, bro. This is a soap opera we did.
I really didn't care for Webber. I think he's the worst announcer that's ever been on basketball games. I could not stand watching games with him commentating. I'm glad they took him off, but that's not anything personal. I just didn't like listening to him. But this is fucking personal.
It gotta be.
That's some bullshit, man.
Man, but the good deal is that Perk has grown on me. I remember before, man, I don't want to hear anything from Perk, man. He was just sounding like I couldn't stand Perk, man. Perk kind of grows on you a little bit, man. I mean, you never complain about him knowing what he's talking about. He's a basketball player. He knows the X's and O's, but I just didn't like the things that he decided to talk about, sometimes. And I don't think he really had a real grip of what he was saying. But now I can rock with him. And had my man talking about AK-47 from back in the day.
What about him?
Well, I know, right? He just throws his name out there.
He got dunked on by Baron Davis.
Baron Davis is a bad dude.
That was my boy, man.
Yeah, he's doing some things out there in California now with basketball, man. I heard he's really hitting it up there. But yeah, man, Baron Davis, man, that's another name that doesn't get talked about at all. You talk about good play, not even as a very good player. You hear people say very good players, and they name up a whole bunch of players. And you don't hear Baron Davis's name often when he was more than a very damn good player. But
yeah, I think knee injuries kind of slowed him down.
Yeah. Okay.
My bad. Who is that? Who's Masha Laptova?
Oh God!
Oh
yeah! I do remember that. That's why you bring up AK-47. I remember that crap. Holy crap! So now it makes sense that you brought him up. And you're like, yeah. She allowed him to sleep with other people and whatnot. Yeah, man. She allows him to sleep with his wife used to let him sleep with other chicks.
Wow. Okay.
The crap they make, the stuff they make public, man. You can keep it to yourself. We don't need to know what's going on in your bedroom. Right. Keep it on the court. Sometimes we don't even want to see what's going on the court, let alone your damn bedroom.
After Baron Davis dunked on him, she should have been free to sleep with other people.
She should have slept with Baron Davis. We probably have some players in the NBA now with some legacy. Homeboy said, "Cool wife."
AK-47 had a perennial hall pass.
Yeah, right. Yo, bro, if you got a wife who's in cahoots with that kind of thing, hey, that's cool. Now the other way around, man, that kind of give you a little bit of a side eye. Right now, kind of a bit of a side eye, but I think we can live with that because of the double standard.
Wait, I gotta ask you about your Knicks, man. They fired Thibodeau, and now they can't get an interview from nobody. Everybody's declining. No, you can't talk to my coach.
Exactly. See, the way it looks from the outside looking in, it looks like the Knicks are just going to coaches and they're just getting turned down left and right. You're talking to coaches that are on the freaking record, coaches who are employed. These are coaches who are already under contract. So, of course, teams are not going to let you get their coach, especially if they feel that he's worth a damn. They're not going to allow you to do it. And especially down in Dallas now with the Jason Kidd deal, they're building something down in Dallas. They want him down there. And, he's a damn good coach for them. So all these coaches they're going to, I know, see, your Knicks are getting embarrassed left and right. Now, like, these dudes, they're going to people under contract. Now, if they go after college coaches, but
they're getting turned down by college coaches.
Oh, yeah, what's his name? From Villanova. But I would have loved to have him.
Hurley,
that's my man right there.
The dude from Villanova, Jay
Wright.
Jay Wright.
But
somebody else.
I watched him when he was at Villanova.
They got declined by the Bulls for Billy Donovan. I heard they reached out for Quinn Snyder. Like, you fired Thibodeau to hire Quinn Snyder? That's who you want to interview?
Like, see, now you might have to go to the.
There was no rhyme or reason to terminating Tibbs. They just got rid of him and like, okay, now what are we gonna do?
How about Reggie Theus? Come up with someone from back in the day who's had some kind of success on the basketball court. He coached at New Mexico State. He's now the athletic director at Bethune-Cookman here in Daytona Beach, Florida. And they're just about an hour, like 20 minutes away from here. Bring him out of the doldrums. I'm sure he'll take the damn job. Or Rick Pitino. Now, is Rick Pitino so tight with St. John's, building it from the ground floor up to be something that could be competitive?
I think Mark Jackson's the guy.
You know what? Why not Mark Jackson? What's the deal? Bring him home.
Point guard. He can work with Jalen Brunson.
Oh my God, man! Bring the damn dude home.
If they got denied access to Jason Kidd, so I think Mark Jackson's the guy.
I got to look a little deeper. I mean, hell, I've been trying to at least over the years. Why Mark Jackson hasn't gotten a job now that this Knicks job is available? You're hearing all these coaches, and he hasn't even been spoken to.
I know
it can't be just that. I don't think it could just be that where they were saying that he's trying to push his religious belief on young players and influence them, this and that, and players are kind of rebelling against it. I don't think that's it, man. It's got to be something else. I mean, nothing bad, but something that they believe maybe.
I don't think he would have gotten fired from Golden State if that's the case, because Steph is very religious.
Well, that's back before Steph started putting it together. We know that the potential was there, but that's before he was a splash brother. He was just a drip brother back then. And so they were like, okay, he's not finally there yet, but and I still give Mark Jackson a lot of credit, that Steve Kerr is getting, at least for those first, that first championship. Mark Jackson, that core team, that was his team.
It was.
So, it's almost like Tony Dungy, with Green Bay, up at Tampa Bay. He leaves, they win a championship. See, he went without him, John Gruden, and John Gruden is a damn good coach. But my man still got his joint up there in Indianapolis, so that's cool. But that's all that matters. What's he saying?
He's asking Mark Jackson is tight with his church in California.
Man, look, Archbishop
I
Malloy.
Believe if he gets a job offer, he's taking it.
He's got to take it.
He can find a church in that town.
Go, New York is full of Catholics, so go to New York, man. Come on, this is a homecoming.
He wouldn't want to go home. Yeah, he's a point guard legend.
Yeah, exactly. He's one of those point guards they talk about coming out of New York. And I think Archbishop Malloy is where he went. I think Chris Mullin went there too, I believe, years ago. But nevertheless, bring him out. That's why I'm believing there's something else outside of what's been on the surface about him for all these years. And I guess people feel comfortable not giving him a job. Or could it be a case of him saying, you know what, I don't want this job or that job, not the next job, but I'm seeing other jobs he might have been offered in the past. I was even going as far as wanting him to get hired by the Indiana Fever.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah,
I haven't even heard his name being
anytime
mentioned for interviews, though.
I don't know. People have their so-called agendas,
and I don't know why he's not on the broadcast. He's better than Brooke. What's her name? Doris Burke.
Doris Burke. Everybody's against Doris. I like hearing Doris. I don't know. I guess she overdoes it because she feels she's a woman and the usual always feeling this victim that everybody's against you. I like the way she explains the game. If you don't know anything about the
I don't
game,
think
she explains it
I
to you
don't
like a
think
novice.
Richard Jefferson is bad, but I don't see
Bro,
him in the same league as Mark Jackson.
Richard Jefferson is like Tiger Woods doing basketball, man. Just hearing him speak about the game going back and forth. Sounds like Tiger Woods a bit when he talks about the game. But he was also another great player.
He was a decent player. He played in the finals. He won a chip.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I remember him
He
way back
won
in
a
his
chip in
Arizona
Arizona
days.
too.
Yeah, when he was at Arizona. He was on that championship team?
I think so, with Miles Simon
and Mike Bibby and that
yeah.
big center. Oh, snap. I might have to check that and see. But yeah, but Miles Simon, come on. He got like the MVP of the freaking tournament, man, and didn't get to the NBA, do anything. But Mike Bibby's now, that's the dude right there. He's at Sacramento State now, playing, coaching basketball.
Is he still all swole?
Who? Mike Bibby? Oh, yeah. I don't know if swole muscle-wise. I know he gained a lot of damn weight since the last time I saw him.
Man, the last picture I saw, he was swole, like bench pressing 500 pounds.
Damn,
or something.
Like CC Sabathia all of a sudden. He's no longer Cheesecake Sabathia.
I have to say, I'm disappointed in the career Mike Bibby had because
he could have done a lot more, but I still rock.
Yeah, I remember they were giving the Lakers hell, and I was like, man, Mike Bibby is the truth.
He is.
They couldn't stop him. Yeah, but then he didn't build on that, and he didn't get better. And I was like, well, I was wrong because he obviously not the truth.
Yeah, I think he had a solid career. It could have been better, man. But I'm glad that he ended up now with Sacramento State. He has Shaq's son there now. He has the old washed-up phenom Mikey Williams there now. Let's see what happens out there. See if they end up going to the NCAA tournament. I don't believe they've been there before, so maybe he might be the missing link. But NFL coming up. What's going on now? They're talking. Let's take Shedeur Sanders off the front pages and put Mike Tomlin and Aaron Rodgers on the front pages now. I don't know. I don't think anything is going to happen with them that's soap opera worthy.
I don't know. I don't think Tomlin's going to put up with a whole lot anyway. So I'm sure I have to believe that Tomlin spoke to Rodgers and like, look, if you come in here, this is what I expect, and I'm not going to allow X, Y, Z. I fully believe that because
why would Tomlin Rodgers like that?
Why would Tomlin be such a disciplinarian, have everything under control, and then bringing the diva in that he can't control? Who's going to do and say whatever he wants?
I'm thinking that the respect may be mutual to where Aaron Rodgers comes in and knows the role and knows he doesn't have to ruffle feathers and that he's going to be allowed to do whatever he can do as long as it helps the overall team and helps the team win. So I don't even think it's a conversation he and Mike Tomlin have to have.
Yeah, but all they got to do is put a microphone in his face and he's going to say
he'll just start saying what he says. Yeah, he's done that before. But yeah, by the way, I have a shout out for my man, Tony Goodman. I don't know if it's a real shout out because my man got a hookup with Travis Hunter's wife today. He built, he had some products out there. And she did his thing on TikTok, and it got a whole bunch of views. Just did it yesterday, man. I was like, yo, bro, how'd you get the drop on her? But I guess we'll find out later. But shout out to him. He may be watching this show. Tony Goodman used to play for the Jacksonville Sharks, the Arena Football League team here, blah, blah, blah. But, yo, he's doing his thing out there in the business world now. And she's making a hell of a name already. Over 400,000 people on her joint. So she's an influencer for sure. But yeah, we'll be listening or hearing more about what Travis Hunter is doing next month. And of course, next month also brings college football really stepping to the forefront with their media days, SEC Media Day, ACC Media Day, Big 10, Big 12, all of them coming up. So yeah, that's going to be coming up in the future. The magazines are out right now for those who decide to get them, even though they're completely outdated by the time you get them, with news moving as fast as it does. And going back to what I talked about on Monday, in terms of this $2.8 billion lawsuit to where now teams are going to have a $20.5 million, essentially a salary cap to pay their players. And now because of that, you're paying these players, you can now sign them to scholarships / contracts with buyouts. And if you have buyouts, and Jay Billis made a damn good point, you put buyouts in the contract, these players aren't leaving because now these other schools are going to have to put up that big money to buy them out, unless you're talking about a Texas or Oklahoma or another school with a big budget. So this whole thing is going to be one hell of a morass. I don't know how they're going to navigate it, but it's going to be something watching it. And I'm still thinking the benefit for the advantage for teams like Georgetown and St. John's, who don't have to put all that $20.5 billion towards football because they have non-scholarship playing football teams. So now they can put that money towards basketball and get the top 5 guys all over the country for about $20.5 million. Hey, get yourself an all-star team, McDonald's All-American team.
The Big East might be making a comeback.
That's what I'm thinking, man. When I saw that, I was like, yo, bro, that sticks out like a sore thumb for these teams that don't have a football team to put that budget on now. But yeah, thinking about the contracts these players.
What if DePaul makes a comeback?
You know what? That's
they haven't been relevant since I was a kid.
Wasn't that when Rod Strickland was there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Went to my high school, won the city championship, state championship with him way back. But he got there before I got there, so that's what it was. But he was a hell of a Nick too, man. Damn good talent, man. Bad attitude, but hey, he's that tenacious point guard.
Rod Strickland, I believe is really underrated, man.
He
give you work, not just in college.
Yeah, he give you work, boy. He give it to you. Yeah, he wasn't playing any games out there. But yep, Truman High School, boy. That's what he got down there. But anyways, it's about time. Damn, time had it flown already. But
we gotta make predictions for tomorrow night.
Damn, it seems like cookie cutter or chalk to say, man, the momentum is there. Let's go with Indiana. So guess what? I'm going to go with Indiana. I'm thinking that OKC is going to go back home down 3-1, chomping at the bit to try to do something to save their asses from getting knocked out with a gentleman's sweep. Go on now.
I'm reluctant to say, but I agree with you. I was going to say, I think the Pacers' confidence is sky high now. They probably feel like they figured things out. And as long as they get the same effort and contribution from the bench, and you talked about Miles Turner not being 100% the other night, feeling under the weather, maybe he shoots better. I'm going with the Pacers. I can't believe I'm saying it because I picked the Thunder in 5.
I know, right?
I don't think the Pacers will win in 5, but I think they will go back to OKC up 3-1.
If they go back to OKC up 3-1, I can see OKC winning that game in OKC and then coming back to Indiana, where Indiana will have every opportunity and chance to close it out in front of the home crowd.
You'll have to make sure Caitlin Clark is in attendance.
Oh, yeah, right?
They're undefeated when she's at the game.
That's right, 8-0. And they didn't mention anything about Reese. What's the record of her own team while she's playing? 2-6, 2-8. Whatever it might be.
I think
below 500.
I think the Cubs, White Sox, and Bulls all lost with her in attendance.
And the Blackhawks aren't even playing.
And the Bears. She was there on the sideline last year. I think they lost.
I got a ridiculous 3-team.
She might be 1-3, maybe 1-3.
Well, going by the way she's playing, that's probably an improvement. Well, I have my little 3-team parlay coming up. 2 baseball teams and the Florida Panthers. Taking the money line with them just to get the damn game done. Get the damn game won. They'll be up after that. But anyways, he's Buzz. I'm Tribe, and the Sports Bag Bros podcast is going to go away for the weekend, and we'll be back on Monday with a litany of sports news, I'm sure, especially from this NBA Finals. And will it be 3-1 for Indiana when we come back on Monday? Until then, deuces.
Adios.